Yo, Giff,
Georgie.
man, how you doing?
I'm all right, man. How you doing, bro?
Good. This has been a long time in the making, and I'm glad we're finally making it happen.
Yeah, man. We've been circling each other for a bit, man. It's good to finally get the discussion going, man. Yeah, man. So I'm gonna post this to the channel, man. So you got the floor, man. Tell everybody who you are, what you do, man. I did a little intro, man, but yeah, ain't nothing like you getting it from the horse's mouth, man. Yeah, let them know what's up.
Yeah, for sure. My name is George Goodrich, and I'm a CEO of a company called Playlist Push, where we connect independent artists to playlist owners on Spotify. Um, Artists pay us, and then we pay our network of curators to listen to the song and review it. And we have enough of curators to where the system works quite well, and people place tracks. We also try to trigger this algorithm on Spotify, and we can talk all about that later. But yeah, that's basically it. And I also wrote a book called "How to Use Spotify Playlists to Launch Your Career in Music," and Playlist Push was just kind of the follow-up product. A lot of people bought the book and kind of wanted a little something more, and this is kind of the next thing.
Yeah, man. Cool, man. So it's like, what are the challenges that artists face in trying to get music placed on Spotify in the first place? You know, that they would need to go to a company like Playlist Push.
Yeah, I think it can be kind of overwhelming because there's a lot of great distributors. I would say the first thing you can do that can be sometimes your best weapon is to actually find a good distributor. A lot of people, they've kind of got these ties to CD Baby or TuneCore, and they think, oh man, but I love CD Baby or I love TuneCore, but they don't really do anything for you. So you might have to give up a small percentage, but there's some distributors out there that do still have those pipes to Spotify, although they've become much weaker. You've got a shot there. And then this new thing is kind of getting on these user generated playlists. So playlists that normal people make, but they've amassed a following, and depending on the genre, I mean, that can kind of just drive you nuts between finding good lists and then actually finding the person that owns it, and then actually closing the deal and getting that person to put your song on their list. It really varies by genre when it comes to doing that. If you're in hip hop, I mean, good luck, because you're probably going to get worked, and nobody's going to put your song on their list out of the kindness of their own heart. Let's just put it that way. But if you're like an instrumental guitarist, you got a good shot at finding people who genuinely want to help indie artists.
Yeah, I tend to. Yeah, I think you're totally right in that. Like, I mean, from experience and from what I've seen, it's easier, and not just with Spotify in general. It's easier to get a lot more love when you kind of fit into some type of niche or some type of music that like disco or something that's like not as popular as it once was, where they have like this community of people who can't readily like there's it's not readily available. It's not like all over radio or TV. So it's like those types of genres have like committed fan bases that are like seeking it out and sharing it for a certain type of reason, because they enjoy it and they want to make sure other people that enjoy it can access it too. But genres that are popular, that are more like prevalent, that's where it's like it becomes more difficult to place in. Like if you do pop music or hip hop music, then it's like everybody is charging, because it's just like they have everybody trying to get on, and it's almost like a buyer's market almost.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's and I'm pretty open about this, and I tell this to people all the time. It's like, Spotify is important, but it's still just one piece of the pie. I think a lot of people are, they kind of have the approach where, oh man, all I got to do is get on a big playlist and then I'll make thousands of dollars, and people will start noticing me and things like that. And it's like, that's not necessarily the situation. There's artists that have millions of streams on Spotify that can't even sell out, their hometown tavern. So it's just really one slice of the pie. Still important and still a lot of money to be made, and still kind of the place to be right now. But you know, that could all change.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like I say, yo, it's not what, it's why, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if people are streaming, because it's like at the end of the day, you could have a bunch of people who are streaming your song because the right person shared it, you know, and they're just experimenting, you know. So it's like if I got a playlist that's popular that reaches 100,000 people, and I playlist your song, and that song reaches those 100,000 people, and 1,000 people listen to it, you know, and that playlist is focused to people in Detroit, and you look and you say, wow, I got 1,000 people listening to my song in Detroit. You would be a
yeah,
fool to assume that you have 1,000 fans in Detroit and try to go
yeah,
out there
yeah,
and do a concert, because
yeah,
those
exactly.
1,000 people could have listened to that song for 30 seconds a piece. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So it's like, you don't know, you know. That's why I tell people a lot of times, man, on the channel and just in person too, that it's important to dig into the data and kind of look at, you know, how people are interacting with your song. You know, that's why things like Spotify for artists are important with the analytics, to see like the unique streams, like how many times is how many streams are you getting per person that listens to that song, and where you're getting those unique streams from, you know, and trying to investigate, you know, how those people are accessing your music and how they listening to it, man, you know.
exactly.
Yeah, man. So another thing too that's good with Spotify playlists, I see, and just Spotify in general, I think it's like I had a discussion with a friend of mine yesterday who was just talking to me about like artists that he's out in New Orleans, and he's dealing with artists out there. Like he's in Vibe Music Collective, where
Okay,
I think his name is Amani Omari, I believe his name is, a producer from
okay,
out there. Yeah, but that guy got a lot of songs playlisted on Spotify. He was just talking about how like Spotify reached out to a lot of the artists in their collective and had them come down to the offices and discuss with them like their strategies and what type of new music that they was working on, and just trying to figure out how they can help them. So it's like a tremendous upside when you have a platform that's willing to reach out to artists that they see doing well on their platform. So, you know, that to me is a benefit too of getting your music on those playlists and circulating and getting your streams up on the platform, you know.
right. Yeah, I saw the same thing happen. They did something like that in Atlanta, and then it actually, a lot of people started reaching out to me because they're like, hey, you know, I went to this thing in Atlanta, and of course it's like you can't email these people at Spotify every day and expect them to email you back.
Yeah.
So people were I was kind of like flooded with a bunch of people from Atlanta that wanted to get on Spotify playlists, or just understand it even more. And I think that's the really interesting thing for me is like, you know, I live and breathe. I mean, I've been doing this for like 2 years when this stuff really started popping off. But you know, people are just getting hip to it. I mean, there's still a lot of people that don't even know it's a thing. So that's been the really interesting part, is I'm kind of like waiting for the bubble to burst, but it just gets more and more popular. And you know, I talk to artists all the time who are just kind of starting to figure it out and just wanting to get in the Spotify game. And you know, I think as that happens, the real estate just becomes more valuable on those lists. You know, any playlist that's got any listeners. So yeah, I mean, it's good for someone like me, but it also has its challenges. You know.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, yeah, man. I mean, the only thing I see is like with the playlist, man, is yeah, and this might be, you know, from a standpoint of Spotify and maintaining control, because I know, you know, they don't give a lot of real estate to user generated playlists. You know what I'm saying? Like
No.
you look at something like SoundCloud, where they like put that front and center in like the what you call it, what they call it, the music stream or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
on a platform like Spotify, you got to dig, you got to go searching for those playlists. So it's like the people who have popular playlists on Spotify, those playlists are kind of driven by what they got going on outside of Spotify. It's like those are people who are either they have blogs, you know, or they just are popular people, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
Yeah.
they just, you know, share it with their friends and their friends stream it. So that's where something like playlist push becomes critical. because it's going to be mad difficult to find those people on your own, because Spotify isn't going to give you a layup. You know, it's not like you could just go in there and like go to a playlist section in Spotify and they got it like ranked, showing you what the top playlists are and, you know, the most you that there is nothing like that, you know. So if you try to do it on your own, you're going to be digging forever.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
You're going to have to type in like a artist name and try to find like a playlist that feature that artist. And even if you find a playlist, you're going to have a hell of a job on your hands finding out who owns it. I think you said that too in the beginning. It's like, it's going to be a lot of work, you know. But it's like when you use something like Playlist Push, does Playlist Push give you like a list of the playlist that they pitch to?
So not really. A lot of people ask us that. So basically what we do is, if you want to set up a campaign, the pricing starts at $185, and that price goes up depending on how many different curators and how many genres you want to add into your campaign. But basically what we do is, in the first week of your campaign, we're trying to get you as many user-generated playlist ads as we can, because that can, each time your song's added to a user-generated playlist, it gains a data point. And if it's gaining a certain amount of data points with Spotify, it has a chance to end up on these algorithm-driven playlists like Fresh Finds and Crate Diggers, or get years of an actual curator at Spotify and get placed on a real Spotify playlist. Obviously, that's if it's a complete home run, all the stars align type situation. At the very least, we help artists just get their wheels off the ground on Spotify. And for some people, it's a little bit of a slower burn, but it's just getting those streams going, and getting on some lists, and people are listening to the list. They start sharing it or adding it to their own list. And, some artists really take off and they're up in the millions of streams, and some it's a little bit of a slower burn. And people are actually okay with that. They just want to get something going and have a presence on the platform. But that's basically how we work. And each time the song's added to a playlist, we notify you right away via email with a link to that list. And then at the end of your campaign, which is 2 weeks, we send you a full report. So feedback from the more popular playlisters, and also links to all the playlists the song was added to.
That's pretty good. Yeah, because you get the links. Like if they add it to something, then you get the links to the places that it got added.
Yeah, then we open that door, and if they want to tweet it or shout out the curator or whatever, then or start a relationship with them, that's entirely up to the artists.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I was about to ask, whether you guys supply the reason for like why a song might be denied or be getting rejected by a playlist or not. But I stopped myself. I'm talking about it, obviously.
Well, we do. I mean, we send them, we even send them the bad reviews. I actually had, so we usually put together the report, and one squeaked through and it was like, this song is shit or something like that. And it actually got to the artist, and I felt really bad. But the guy really didn't like the song, which is, it's not cool. It's not a very professional move. But if you're coming to Playlist Push, like, you're going to get the good and the bad. First of all, we have to approve the song. So, the team at Playlist Push has to listen to it. If we approve it, then, you set up the campaign, it goes on to the curators, and then you're at the mercy of them, man. I mean, we don't tell them how to run their lists. We don't put too much of a filter on what they say. And, a lot of it's good feedback for people. We've had people who run campaigns and they don't get added to a ton of lists, but they say, hey, I really realized where our music's at. That feedback was super helpful, because, your best friend's not going to tell you your music's not there. And, neither is your mom and dad. So I think that's a really big added value to the service that I kind of underestimated. But yeah, people really dig it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a note to all artists out there, man. When you step into the realm of, reaching out to people with your music and stuff, man, you got to put your big boy pants on, man. Put your big boy pants on and just be able to take criticism, Because it's like, I feel like, especially nowadays, man, with social media and stuff, man, people can, it's like as much as it's allowed people to access the world, it's also created bubbles almost, you know what I'm saying? Where people can kind of restrict themselves to only networking with people who agree with them and people who think they're amazing. You know what I'm saying? So people have their network of friends that they release music to on Facebook and Twitter, and those people tell them their music is amazing, and then they just think that everybody is going to think that. And then when they reach out to somebody that works at a label, or they reach out to somebody like you know, or even try to submit a song to Pandora and they get rejected, then they become resentful. And as opposed to just getting better and submitting something new, they get upset and they say, oh, forget them, man. They're scam artists, or oh, da-da-da-da-da. Yo, they don't know what's up. And it's like, yo, nah, that's not the case, man. It's just, yo, it might not be as good as you think it is. You might need to go back and work on it some more, you know, and try to resubmit. You know what I'm saying? You just got to work on your stuff, man, and just recognize that everybody isn't going to love it, you know? Everybody isn't going to love it. And just because somebody doesn't love it doesn't make them a hater. You know, it doesn't make them a hater. Sometimes there's some truth to what they're saying, you know, because the main thing I say is always don't trust what people say, trust what people do. You know what I'm saying? In particular with music, because people will tell you a song is amazing, but if somebody only listened to the song once and they didn't playlist it and they didn't buy it and they didn't download it and they didn't share it, then the proof is in the pudding, you know what I'm saying, in regards of how they really feel about it, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, you know, you're, if you're coming, I mean, I always say like, you know, SoundCloud's kind of the minor leagues, but there's a lot of producers, there's a lot of like peer listening, whereas Spotify's the big leagues, man. Like you're going up against real estate on playlists that's got Future, 21 Savage, that has huge artists. You know, there's not like too many niche indie rapper playlists where you're going to get a lot of streams, you know, like you're going up against like real major artists. And you know, your music's got to be at least 80% there. And if it's not, then you know, you're wasting your money on promo. You should be investing in yourself and doing whatever you got to do to get it polished up. But you know, it's a different game on Spotify. Everyone that's listening they want to hear good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's more friction with Spotify.
Yeah.
So just to get anything going on there, you're gonna need a degree of demand. You know, so it's like, this is why a lot of artists use SoundCloud and YouTube in the first place, because it's frictionless. You know, people can access it. And at the same time, it's like the benefit of it is kind of like the detriment of it. You know, it's like it's easily accessible. So it means that people can gain access to it with the lowest level of demand, which means you don't have much demand. You know, if you can't say, yo, well, sign in or register or anything to gain access to the music because people are unwilling to do it, then it's like, yo, that means you can't sell it. That means you can't really monetize it to a great extent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
it's like, it's important for you to make something that people want enough where they are willing to at least overcome something to gain access to it, you know? And and that's the difference with something like Spotify, is that people who are using the platform have already put some type of work into using it. Now, it's relative in regards of the amount of work that people put into it, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, you know, I don't want to classify, you know, having to sign in as work, you know, but in this internet age where people will leave a website if it takes 30 seconds to load, you know what I'm saying? It's like signing in is an obstacle. And I've had conversations with people where I say, yo, why you don't use Spotify like that? And that comes up as a reason. Like, I don't want to sign in. I don't want to sign in. Like if somebody puts up a post to a song on Spotify, I know people who will take the song title and go to YouTube and look it up because they don't want to sign in to listen to it, you know? But at the same time, if Kendrick Lamar's new album is out and they want to hear it, they'll go to Spotify and listen to Kendrick Lamar album. So it's like the same person that won't listen to a song by an unknown indie artist on Spotify will go to Spotify to listen to Kendrick Lamar's album or J. Cole's album or something like that, because they're willing to overcome more to get to those people's music than they are to get to somebody who's unknown. So that's where, just working on your craft, man, and just getting it to a point where where you have something that people want bad enough, to put on a platform like Spotify, and to even reach out to a company like Playlist Push, because like you said, you guys review the music and you're going to listen to it, and if it's not up to par, it's going to get denied, and there's no reason for you to be bitter about that, and if you are cautious about being bitter about that, then be cautious about what you submit, So
exactly.
Yeah, that's just my take on that.
No, exactly. Yeah, man, you said it.
Man. So where you see this thing playing? How you see this thing playing out, man? With Spotify, where you see them trending towards, man? I see them opening up Spotify for artists and expanding it a bit. Allowing artists to like post the geo tour listings. In the area where they used to do the featured album or the featured playlist and with the background photo and stuff. Are they trending more towards becoming like almost like a label type of system? Like, where you see them going? Where do you think they headed?
Yeah, I think with this this new Rise thing they've rolled out, I think so basically what Spotify has been doing is they're watching certain users on Spotify. They're finding say like an old I don't know, they're finding like they're finding like Water by God, and they're going back and they're saying, okay, who added this song on their playlist way before it was even cool, and they're basically using their users as kind of as A&Rs to what they think is gonna be good and what people are gonna like. And this could be just like a random kid in Kentucky who's just picking music and making his own playlist. He might have 0 followers, but they're basically, I think what they're building is kind of like a data-driven label where they can watch what artists are doing. And if they've got like some insane early traction, then I think they're going to invest in them, and they're going to put them on the front page and sign them to this Rise thing. And they're basically turned into a label, So you've got all the labels that kind of own a piece of Spotify, and then you got Spotify themselves there to label. Which makes it even tougher for indie artists as far as real estate and getting on those bigger lists. But I think you're going to see more of that. They're just watching everything and gathering a ton of data on who's saving songs, who's listening to them for how long, are they adding them to their playlists, and they're going to use that to dictate, I think, the future of artists on the platform. And if you can put yourself in that position early, then and if they come knocking on your door, then I think you're in the money. I don't know what their agreement looks like, but I think I would sign with Spotify before I'd sign with anybody else.
Yeah, I mean they got, the big thing is they got the real estate,
Exactly.
So it's like, where a record company, and this is the thing too that I look at in regards of, when people complain about, royalty payouts with Spotify and things like that, I'm like, you got to factor in other things in regards of, promotion and stuff, because promotion costs a lot of money. Marketing and advertising is really expensive. So it's like, if a platform is providing you with a way to reach a lot of people, and you don't have to spend a lot of money to do it, or they doing it for you for free, where it's like, you getting on they putting you on it, like how Spotify got their Spotify generated playlist, and they put you on that playlist. It's like the traction that you get from those playlists is worth like $100,000 marketing campaign. So it's like, you can complain and say, damn, I only got like a half a penny per stream. But it's like, at the same time, to get those streams and to get that type of reach, you would have had to spend like $100,000 that you don't have. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's like, that's what always slayed me about when people would complain about those payouts, man. Record companies, I can understand them complaining because they already spent the money to market and advertise. So they like, well, the streams are coming from us, but at the end of the day, I look at it and I feel like, Spotify, like they're a threat, man. Especially, if they venturing into label territory, because it's like with more people going to streaming platforms and less people buying and downloading and stuff, they have like a lot of control. You know,
for sure.
they have a lot of control. You know, so it's like, man, they're the new gatekeepers. So it's like, yo, artists out there, man, y'all better get on it. Playlist push.
Exactly.
Whatever else you can use, man.
Yeah, man. And that's it's funny you said that, because I never thought I'd be running a music promotion company. And, you know, it's tough, man, because, you know, even if we qualify the music, at the end of the day, it's up to the curators. And then we kind of got to like manage those expectations, you know. So, you know, there's some people that, you know, they expect the world, they want like 1 million streams, and they're not happy if they don't get it. And then there's the people that get on like a couple playlists and they're like, wow, thank you, this is so cool, I got a track coming out next month, you know. So it's tough, man. It's tough to manage that, like people's expectations, you know. But we just do everything we can to make it better and improve the process and collect more data and switch things up to become more effective.
Yeah, man. Trust and believe. I know, bro. I know, man. Being on my end, you know, I deal with a lot of artists, man, and I get to see, you know, the disillusioned, you know, with the disillusionment with expectations, man, you know, and because it's like, you know, I mean, to a degree I can understand, you know, artists don't have a lot of artists don't have a lot of money, so they want to see, you know, big things happen, you know, from whatever they spend. And this is why, you know, I try to explain what I try to explain on the channel and stuff, man, just to give artists an idea of how these things work. Because really, man, it's like if you spend like $600 or $700 with playlist push, you know, you might look at that and say, damn, I spent $700. Yo, you know, you want to see 100,000, you want a song to go viral. You know, you say,
yeah, for sure.
Now you're looking for a song to go viral, but you cannot control how people respond to a song. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You might think it's hot, but it's not even, and to some extent, especially nowadays, man, it's not even a matter of whether a song is good or not. Sometimes it's more so of how a song fits into what's going on at the current time. Because you have some songs like this current song, right, by that kid. What's his name? Joyner Truth or whatever his name is. The song with the with I'm Not Racist, something like that.
Yeah.
The Trump supporter thing.
Yeah.
It's like that song isn't an amazing song. Like I wouldn't listen to that song more than once, but it's provocative to the extent that you will listen to it and you might tell somebody else they got to hear it. You know, you might listen to it, watch the video and be like, yo, y'all got to check this out. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to get a whole bunch of views because everybody is sharing it because of, you know, the controversy. But in regards to people listening to it over and over again, like if you in your house and you are cleaning the house, you're not going to play that song. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's different reasons why people respond to different types of songs. But when you have a song that doesn't fit into something like, you know, a social discussion or something like that, it becomes critical to get that song heard because that's the main way it's going to circulate. People are going to hear it, they're going to like it, and then they're going to share it from the fact that they like how the song sounds. So it's like things like Facebook advertising and YouTube advertising and things like that aren't going to work too good for a song that is completely reliant on sound. You know what I'm saying? For something like that, you need it becomes critical with the playlists and things like that because you got to get it heard. It's crucial to getting it heard. You know, like I always tell, like the example I like to use a lot of times, man, is like the difference between artists like Adele and Madonna. You know, it's like Madonna is an artist that even in like if you were starting over, right? Like if you were like managing those two artists in the beginning of their careers, you could market Madonna on Instagram. She would do well there. Yeah. Because of all of this stuff that she used to do with the sex and the whips and the chains. And people see the pictures and they respond
the cone boobs.
Yeah, the cone boobs, all of that stuff. But it's like Adele, it's the voice. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's like if people aren't hearing the songs, it's like, I mean, what visuals are you putting up on Instagram for Adele? It's like just 100 pictures of her face. It's like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like the two of them, you would market completely differently. You know, you would put one, you got to get to radio, you know, get to playlists, get people hearing the song. The other, you can just visually attack, you know, and get people seeing stuff and intrigue people and things like that, you know. So it's like, it's understanding yourself as an artist and understanding, you know, that the way for you to go is to get your music heard. And that's where something like Playlist Push will become critical for you, you know, because it's going to help you get your songs on playlists and get it heard. You know, don't waste your money on Instagram ads when you're not a visual artist like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I know Instagram is a popular place, and I'm not speaking to you. I'm more so speaking to the audience, because I mean, I know a lot of artists hit me up and they want to know about how to advertise on Instagram. And it's like, yo, if you're going to spend $300 or however much, you know, over the next 4 or 5 months trying to advertise on Instagram, you are better off, you know, going to something like Playlist Push, because, you know, you're more likely to get better results that way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's interesting. And you know, Instagram, I think, used to be a really powerful tool, but I think it's almost to the point where it's just kind of like, it's still valuable, but it's getting a little oversaturated. You know, you got all these people just uploading just junk and all these just third-party videos that are old or been on YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that. I mean, it's still important because there's a ton of eyeballs there. But you know, you're right, man. You gotta put it where you think you're most effective.
Yeah. Yep, man. Word, man. So it's like, you got anything else you want to throw out there, man? Let it be heard, man. Yeah, get it out your system, bro.
Yeah, I mean, just a few things. I mean, if you're an artist on Spotify, one thing you should be doing is, you know, you should have Songkick set up, and you should make sure that that's linked in to your Spotify for Artists account. So if you do have a show in your hometown or anywhere, it's going to pop up on your Spotify profile. And, you know, I see a lot of artists who still aren't doing this. And, you know, if you're touring and you're doing a few shows, even if it's something small, you know, you can still put it on Songkick and then link it up to your account. And, you know, I buy a lot of tickets that way. I mean, I'll be listening to artists on Spotify and be like, oh, wow, they're going to be at the El Rey Theater next week or in a few days. And I'll just buy a ticket right there. So that's just a quick value add. And also, if you're an artist, you know, and you're looking to get on user generated playlists and you want to do it your own way, just do some digging. You know, if you find a good list, don't assume that that's going to get you streams. You know, what we've seen at Playlist Push is, you know, people will try to sign up with these playlists who just have, like, they have no active listeners. They might say they have followers, but, you know, they don't actually have any streams really coming from their list. So either they bought fake followers or whatever. But the best way to find good lists is just go on artists that you think you're similar to and click on their about section. And if you go to Discovered on, it'll usually show lists that that artist is actually gaining streams and listeners from. So use that kind of as a target if you're looking up lists for you on your own. That's a good way to do it. Otherwise, you know, people will say, oh, give me $40 or whatever. And then you probably never hear from them again, and you don't get any streams and you get burnt. But yeah, man, that's pretty much all I got.
That's another quick question I got for you too, man. How do you spot the scams? What's the red flags when it comes to scams in regards to sites that might try to charge you to submit your songs to playlists, and in regards to playlists? Like, if you come across somebody who has a playlist and they're like, well, I'll playlist your song if you pay me, like, what would you look at to try to determine whether the stream count was real or the followers were real? Like, what are red flags that you could tell people they could look for?
Yeah, for sure. So typically, if you find a playlist that has followers, and, you know, to vet it, what I would do is I would go to their overall profile first. So if someone, you know, let's say they've got a playlist that has 20,000 followers, and you go to their profile and their actual Spotify profile has no followers or 10 or 20, that doesn't really make much sense. You know, it should be relative. I mean, they shouldn't have the same number, but they should have at least a few people following them because, hey, this guy makes good lists. I'm going to follow him to, you know, see if he makes other good lists. Another thing would be they'll typically, for whatever reason, they cycle songs through frequently. So even though they have the same old songs on their playlist, they'll add them all again within like a few weeks. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. And then, you know, that's the other thing is like, see how old the songs are on the playlist. Like if they have some older songs that are like from, you know, last year or months ago, then it's like, okay, this guy's had this list for a while, and it makes sense that he's gaining this following, right? Whereas like if you playlist that's got 50,000 followers, but all of the songs were added 4 days ago, that's a little sketch. And then what you can do is you can go on the list and see if find an artist that's on that list who's been on there for about a month or 2 months, and you want to find a smaller artist that doesn't have a huge following, and then you can click on their about section and you can see, okay, is this playlist gaining them listeners, right? So that's another way you can do it. As far as services go, I mean, it's really tough, man. There's a lot that have popped up over time, and you know, we're not the first ones in the game. You know, we're trying to be the best and, you know, the most transparent as much as we can. But you know, even us, you know, it's tough just dealing with artists and expectations. But you know, the best thing you can do is just ask around. You know, ask your friends. You know, throw it out there in Facebook groups. I mean, I've heard people that are like, you know, they're guaranteeing millions of streams and they're charging thousands of dollars and things like that, which is also a little sketchy. There's been a lot of people like, you know, they'll buy fake plays from some third-party website, and then your entire taken down because Spotify flags it, and then your distributor's up your ass. You know, I would just and do the best you can to do some digging.
Yeah, man. That's always a red flag for me, man, is guarantees. Because I'm like, in this business, there's not much you can guarantee. So if anybody guarantees that once I start seeing like, we guarantee you'll get on 50 playlists, it's like, because you can't guarantee somebody's going to like something. You know what I'm saying? That's like somebody guaranteeing you applause. Like, I'm going to put you on stage and you'll get 50 applause. I guarantee it. Like, can't guarantee that. You get up there and you might suck, you know? So it's like, you know, guarantees is always a red flag for me, man. But yeah, man, we're going to clock out. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me, George, man. Word up, man. You can keep us updated on anything that you're doing, man. Always feel free to hit me up on Twitter, man. You know how we do, bro.
Yeah, for sure. Same. Thanks, Gift. Really appreciate it, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
No doubt, man. All right, man. Be easy, bro.
Happy holidays.
All right, you too, man. Enjoy your Christmas and New Year's.
You too.
Don't get too wasted.
No, not me. See you, Gift.
All right, man. Peace.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.